What's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about why planning your dates like business meetings is not working for you when it comes to dating and planning out dates and making sure they don't flake, right? This is why you're getting flaked on, because you're not treating the conversation and the planning and the logistics around the date the way that you should be, right? So here, just to show you this, we're going to go through one of my conversations that ends like this, me sending a photo of myself, and then she ends up going to the bathroom to take off her panties. Now that's more about the date, right? But how do we even get to the place where she's turning up on dates? Because that's a problem a lot of guys are having, or if you're getting flaked on, right? Even if girls are showing up sometimes, but a lot of times they get flaked on, right? So what we're going to go through is the anti-flake sequence. Now, there's a couple ways that you can get girls not to flake on the date. One of my favorite ways, and generally when it comes to seduction, is I like to go indirect. I like to use the same tactics that girls use, I use back on them. And I find that's one of the things that works the absolute best. Now, before we dive further into things too far, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Carl. I've helped over 100 successful men find high caliber dates and love. And we do this all using our new proprietary dating methods. Okay, so let's jump into the meat of the video. So we just talked about the indirect method. Now you could also call them out directly. So if a girl is kind of like iffy on the date, you can just make her make her commit to a very set plan. Now we won't talk about this time. We can also talk about, you can also do phone calls, which if you can handle phone calls, which does require some skill, that also reduces flakes, right? So today we're just going to talk about the indirect method. Now, this is not a business meeting, right? You're not going to set a date in your calendar. This happens to so many of my guys. They set a date in their calendar 2 weeks away, even 1 week away, even 3 days away or 1 day away, and that's it. And they don't confirm the meeting, right? This is the worst thing you can do, is not confirming the meeting and assuming that she's going to behave or treat it like a logical meeting that you've set, right? She's not going to do that if she feels like you might flake, if she feels like, if she doesn't feel the same emotions, if she's not excited about the date, she probably is just going to ghost you. She's just going to flake as well, right? So you can't plan it like that. And even when you do have business meetings, if you're not sending up follow-up messages to people, they're not always going to turn up, okay? So that's something you should be aware of. Now, like I said, we want to be like the girl. We want to stimulate emotion. This is my number one method. This is my favorite method for preventing flakes, and it also gets the girl excited about the date, right? And this is why I like to do it. Now, you could also do this via phone calls, right? This does take more effort, though, right? So this takes a little bit more work. Now, one of the mindsets you have is that you should expect flakes, right? If you're not expecting flakes, you're going to have a lot of disappointment, because flakes is just part and parcel of dating women, right? So if you have that expectation in mind, you're going to plan accordingly, right? You might plan another date after that. You might plan the date at a venue or doing something that you want to do instead. You might have work laid out for you, so you can do that. Or, if she flakes, maybe you'll hang out with your friends or hit the gym, whatever, right? So expect the flakes and then be pleasantly surprised when she does turn up, right? Now, my flake / reschedule rate on the first date is around 30 to 40%. Like I said, it's kind of impossible to never have flakes, right? Let's say it's 33%, like 1 in 3 girls. So, maybe, you've planned the date, and then, on the day of or the day before or before a few days before the date, she actually says that she's not, that she can't do that day, right? Now, we can talk about that in a different video, how to know if she's honest about that or if she's not honest about that, and if she really wants to see you again. But yeah, let's say 30 to 40%, right? Now, of those, I can recover around half of them, right? So that means, to my overall girls turning up when they've made plans. So this is like when they've made plans, how often do they flake, right? So usually I will end up getting, what would this be? 80 to 85% of girls out at the end of the day, maybe not on the first date, but by the second, third, fourth time we plan a date, they will have all come out, right? Or we'll get 85% of them out, which is really fucking good, right? And even to the first date, like 60 to 70 of them out. That's pretty decent. Okay, cool. And a lot of guys, they're just like, they just set up the date and then girls don't turn up, and they're wondering why the girls don't turn up, right? So this is my method. You'll see that it's a bit more work. It's a lot more work, but basically I'm just stimulating emotion, and I'm also being a bit indirect about the date. So what you want to do, I can't remember why I said this already. So this is the day before the date. I'm like, hey, by the way, are you working in the city in the day? She's like, perfect. I think I'll work from home tomorrow. Office in, oh man, we should hide that. Oh, well, that's fine, whatever. And nothing too personal there. Nobody's going to know where that person is. Now, she also sends some music. So I say I'm working from home. I ask, what time do you get off? That was a nice song. You're a big Chris Brown R&B fan. She says she finishes up around 6-ish, right? Now, this is the day before the date. I actually don't see any point in continuing to message her the day before because there's nothing to be achieved, right? Now, guys will keep messaging, as much as they can because they think the more the message, the better it is. But really, there's no point on this day because nothing will be achieved. We've already had this conversation. And actually, by me being the one to stop messaging her, I have basically shown my power, right? So she's going to... well, you know what it's like. You're texting a girl and then she doesn't respond to you for a while. You're like, oh, when she's going to respond to me, right? So it gives you that person a little bit of uncertainty, which is what you want. But anyways, the next day, I tried to message her fairly early, 7:51. And this is what I mean by an indirect method. I'm not saying, hey, are we still on for later today? Although I might say that. That is a decent... decent text to send, but this is my indirect method, right? So what I'm trying to do with this method is I'm trying to make her remember me, and for her, like, what essentially is happening here is we are starting the date already. This interaction is already us flirting, showing her the way that we'd be on a date together, and when you do this right, the transition from meeting via text to meeting in person feels so seamless and fluid because it's like you've been having a conversation all day, right? So that's what we're doing here. So basically I say this, I work for myself, so I finish whenever, showing a little bit of value here. Usually I work pretty hard anyways, but super flexible work hours is amazing. All right, cool. And then what you can see is actually she heart reacts to this, right? And now one thing I forgot to mention here is you have to do some work, right? If you're not doing some work here, things are like not going to move forward, right? Or it might be the case that she ends up flaking, right? So what happens here? She likes my message, but she doesn't say anything, right? So what that means is around here at 12:34. And again, like the date, it should be around 6 p.m. I actually end up double texting her. Now, I don't usually double text, but in this case, I do double text. And also, you'll note here that I'm not being direct about it. I'm not like, hey, are you turning up for the date later? Don't be late. No, right? What I'm just saying is, hi, how's Friday treating you, Miss Sagittarius? And the whole idea here is that if she is responding to me, that is essentially her buying into me more, investing into me more, and it is kind of confirming that she's going to come on the date and that she likes me without putting that insane amount of pressure on her, right? Now, the weakness of this indirect method, which I'll get to in a moment, we'll get to that in a moment. So she responds like a true Sagittarius, unstoppable and a little dangerous. If I'm Sagittarius fire, you're bringing the Aquarius cool breeze to cool things down. This almost feels like ChatGPT, but I asked her later and it wasn't. So I guess she's just a bit poetic with the way she speaks. But what this does show is that she's texting a lot, so she's definitely interested. And then I say, I think the breeze will just fan the flames and make them stronger. So I'm just flirting a little bit here, a little bit of lighthearted banter. So then here I'm bringing up logistics, right? And again, when I bring up logistics, I'm not like, hey, are you going to meet me? Sounding with uncertainty. I act as if the date is already happening, right? So thinking let's meet in this place instead, it's not that much further and it will be more cozy. And she says, I agree. And I say, perfect. 7 p.m. ? Let's see what happens. Yes, so she's basically confirmed it here, right? Now note, even when she's confirmed it here, I have not, in my mind, I do not think the date is happening, right? This is my fundamental mindset, not from a low value place, but I just expect the flake so that if she does flake, I'm not beating myself up about it, right? And I've got other things that I can do in my life. So she hadn't used her full name on the app. So I just said, what's your name? Or should I just call you that? And then she's like, my name is blah, blah, blah. What's your name? And then I just say, wow, we're on the last name basis already. Because she gave me her full name. So here I'm flirting. I'm teasing her a little bit. And then I give my name. And she's like, well, I'm pretty sure you can have my last name this soon. And this is also this is a bit of sexual framing that she's kind of like, escalating on me. And then I say, I'll promise to only use it if you're misbehaving. Her full name, stop that immediately, kind of playfully in quotes, that I would say something like that. So that also has kind of sexual undertones, right? Stop that immediately, like she's misbehaving, a little bit sexual, and then, me reprimanding her. So these are very good frames. So again, all of this, it's like we're on the date already. It's like we're already flirting. I'm not pushing the date too hard. You'll notice none of these texts that I'm sending are about the date, apart from here, right? Just when we're talking about logistics. And you'll notice that I'm also drip feeding in the logistics between a bunch of banter, right? So it feels supernatural. And then she's like, ha ha ha. She sends me a voice note. She said something about, how she's a very well-behaved person, but, she can be kind of misbehaving sometimes. I think she said she's a bit of a brat. And then I just sent this. And then I say, so, this basically makes it a bit sexual. And then I say, usually I prefer good girls, but that also almost makes me look forward to it because something. Yeah, almost makes me look forward to her being a bit of a brat. I don't usually like brats, but anyway, she sends another voice note. I do like her voice. Well, that sounds perfectly fine to me. Just had dinner, gonna jump in the shower quick. Did you survive the work week? Okay, so what you'll see here is, again, this is me kind of insinuating that I'm getting ready for the date. So it's not like a super direct, hey, get ready for the date. But like just me saying this, if she acknowledges this, she's kind of like, she's investing into the idea of a date, right? So she's like in my frame, right? If she responds to this. Now you'll see what happens is she doesn't respond, right? So remember, we planned the date for 7 p.m. and she hasn't responded here at 5. She still hasn't responded by 6:20, which you'd think by then, somebody should have responded to the text and like confirm that the date is happening. So this is why you have to do a little bit of work, and why you can't assume that it's on. Even at this point, I was like not super sure that the date was happening, right? I also live fucking far from the city, so for me to go in and commute, it's actually a bit of an effort. So I won't actually leave my house unless I know it's like 80-90% on, right? So did you survive the work week? So I actually have to double text again here, right? We double texted before, we double texted again here. So I'm not somebody who double texts a lot, but in this case, I did. Okay, I double texted twice, and it's okay in this instance because it's not needy. It's like, hey, the frame that I'm coming from is like, hey, we're going on a date. You should be texting me, right? I need to know, but also keeping it light and playful. Did you survive the work week? She says, I did. You. So she kind of responds 15 minutes later, alive and kicking. And you'll notice the way that I speak, it's very, full of banter, very playful. How's timing looking for you? So here we go in for the logistics. And then I say that I might be 30-ish minutes late. Now, I throw this out there because I feel like she's not going to make 7 p.m., right? So I kind of I preempt that a little bit by saying that I'm going to be late. And that kind of keeps the power on my side a little bit. She says, I'm a hopeless optimist when it comes to time. And I say that there can be worse things than a hopeless optimist. So again, positive, lighthearted, playful. She says, true. Now I say, what time should I be there? She's like, well, I'm flexible. Because at this point, I'm just kind of like, I'm over it. I'm like, yo, just give me a fucking time, right? And then she calls me, right? And that's it. Okay, so when she calls me like this is when I am, after this phone call, I know that it's on, like 100%, right? So only at this point do I leave the house. I'm going to be like 30 minutes late to the place anyways, just because, I'm leaving the house so late, but I'm not leaving my house until I get confirmation from her that it's really, really on. Now, I know other guys do this other ways. They set up dates by the coffee shop near their house, just anything to mitigate the risk of her flaking, right? So I say, on my way. And she says, I think maybe we skipped some messages here, but she says, on my way, you can choose a place. I'll meet you there soon. So I share my live location. I like to send little photos of myself because it shows that I am, just so she knows what I look like on that night in real life. And that's it. And then what actually ends up happening here is there's a bit more logistics back and forth. She couldn't find the place. I had to leave the venue and then pick her up, walk up to her and then find her. But that's basically it. This is my system for indirectly confirming the date. So you can see there's a lot of talking here, mostly banter and flirting. but just a little bit of logistics sprinkled in. Now, what a lot of guys will do, they'll be like, hey, like, we're meeting on 7 p.m. on Saturday. They might say that on a Monday, and then they don't fucking message her again until Saturday. You know, like, where are you? Like, on the place, and like, they're already at the date spot, and then the girl's like, what the fuck? Like, for her, it's weird. So this is not a business meeting, guys. This is treat it like women. You gotta flirt with them the whole way through, right? So this is how I like to do it. You giving her the idea that, like, you guys are already on this date, you're flirting with her, there's a lot of banter, and it's just a seamless transition, right? So here, this is me talking to some of my guys, kind of updating them on how it's going. You know, this is how I look, you know, and then 1.5 hours later, almost, she ends up going to the bathroom to take off her panties. Not showing face for privacy reasons, of course. And that's that, guys. So that is how I do this indirect method of preventing flakes. Now, this is my favorite way of doing it. So this is pretty much what I do most of the time, right? Now, in other modules, we might talk about, you know, calling them out directly, phone calls, that kind of thing. But this is my favorite way to avoid that. So if that was helpful, feel free to give me a like and comment. If you want some private coaching, jump into my school group. If you want to just get absolutely amazing at texting women, avoid being flaked on, join my school group. We're going to help you with that. I'll help you personally as well. So hope that was helpful. Feel free to share and subscribe as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.